The Portland area real estate market continues to be very competitive and very friendly to sellers. So if you're thinking of selling your place in our area, does it even matter how you price it? Is it a consideration anymore? Hey, it's Dan. I'm going to argue here in a moment that it does matter and that you still need to know going in what your pricing strategy is, because that's going to help you know how to gauge and interact with your results. Now, in every market, there's pretty much three ways you can price a home, and that hasn't changed. But the relative pros and cons have. Let's dive in. The first option for how to price your home today is to price it low. And this is not $5,000 low. This is $25,000, $50,000, up to $100,000 below what you think market value is. On the extreme end, I've seen it up to about $75,000, $80,000 below where I would have priced it going into the marketplace. Now, the reason people do this, aside from the times when I think they just made a mistake and didn't price it according to where the market was, but for the people who are doing this on purpose as a strategy, the reason is the more people see your home at a lower price than it should sell for, the more excited they're going to get, the more they're going to make appointments to come see it, the more offers they're going to write, and the more competition you're going to have. Now, on an emotional side, this feels great to you. Who doesn't want their house on the market and be full of people all the time? Who doesn't want a stack of offers that just keeps growing and growing by the hour? Now, the end result upside to you could be that that competition drives the price higher than it would have otherwise. And that is something to consider. The negatives, though, are that some of the people coming to look at your house can't afford it. If you price it intentionally low, there are people who can only afford that list price or maybe a bit above, but your expectation number is above their budget. So now they're taking up time in your schedule. They're taking up appointments that are available in the home schedule. And frankly, they're never going to be able to afford it because it's over budget for them to really actually to have been competitive. They're shopping on list price, not on market value. And that's kind of your fault or your agent's fault. And I'm not saying it's inherently bad, but just understand some of the people coming through and writing offers can't afford a fair number for your house. They can afford what you marketed it at. So there could be some time wasted there and some blockage in terms of availability for the house to be seen for people who can't really write an offer good enough in today's marketplace. So consider that. The last downside to that, and I don't think we're there yet, is we do see periods of occasional buyer fatigue where people just stop wanting to get into 15 and 20 offer situations, which is understandable. It's emotionally draining for all involved. And the challenge is, if they call and it happens to be the kind of agent who says, yeah, we've got 15 offers in right now and I'm expecting more, that can kind of put buyers off sometimes. Now, partner that with, if your home was intentionally priced low, it means you're getting offers in that never stood a chance, but they're part of the 15, which makes your agent feel good and it probably makes you feel good, but it might turn somebody else off from writing a really good offer. Let's say you have 15 offers, but really 8 are truly competitive or at a number you would have accepted before they all got pushed up anyway. That's an entirely different conversation that a buyer may have with their agent, 8 versus 15. So just consider if you price it low, you get more showings, you get more offers, you might get more money, but at a certain point you need to start thinking also about, do you turn some otherwise good buyers away because they don't want to compete, especially when they don't know they're competing with offers that may not have ever been good enough. Hope that makes sense. The second approach you can take to pricing your house right now is to just try and price it right about where you think it ought to sell. Now again, you and your agent need to work together to make sure you understand this has been the projection, not this. Because if you go on this one, you're back in category 1, pricing it too low, just not intentionally. So let's say you understand the market's doing this right now and you price it accordingly. Now that means you're going to be a little above or a little below where you think it ought to sell for, but you're right in the window somewhere. The advantage to doing it this way is that all the people who come look can at the very least afford the price you're asking. Whereas in that first example we gave, they maybe can't. So you only get qualified people this way. That's good for you. It means appointments aren't being blocked up by non-qualified buyers or buyers who can't get to that budget figure. It also means that all the offers you get probably would have been acceptable to you if there wasn't a better one. In other words, if my house is on the market for $600,000 and someone submits a 600, someone submits a 610, and someone submits a 620, all three of those are great. I would have taken the 600 if it weren't for the 610 and 620. But in that first example where I priced it low on purpose, I was getting offers that I was never going to take. So again, if you price it right about where you think the market projects, and you do so appropriately, or you do so accurately, I should say, you're only dealing with qualified people who can afford what looks like a reasonable scenario. Yes, you're going to probably get fewer offers, but you're only getting offers from people who can at least offer you what you're asking for. You're not getting people who are shopping outside of their range. And that's good. Now, the last option you have, option number 3, is to price it intentionally high. Now, most of the time, I only save this approach for really special properties, really fantastic remodels, people who've done really, really cool, unique stuff with their houses, because pricing it high does decrease the amount of activity you get. It reduces the number of eyeballs online and the number of people who come doing the slow drive-bys outside your window at night, and it reduces the number of showings you get, which all come together to reduce the number of offers you get. So right away, it's already clear what the risks are with this strategy. There's the opportunity to actually hurt yourself by not getting that big build up, that big competition. But there's another thing that you might want to consider, and this is something I'm recommending to a couple of clients now. If you do price it high intentionally, and there's just not any competition around, yes, you're going to get fewer people to come look, and yes, you're going to get fewer offers, but you might get someone who comes through and says, that price seems kind of high, but I really like the house. I just can't see that price. In which case we, or your agent, if it's somebody else, comes back to them and says, well, let's talk. Let's put an offer together. Let's work something out. In other words, you give the buyer the chance to negotiate. Buyers right now aren't negotiating, they're begging. So if your house is priced high enough that the buyer gets to negotiate you down a little bit, it makes them feel really good and a little bit lucky that they found such a good opportunity. And it may be that they wind up spending more than they were going to in a bidding war, because this is the one chance they have to stand out and be the sole buyer for your house in a one-on-one negotiation. And don't underestimate how nice it might be for that buyer and how much more they might be willing to spend for your house if they just don't have to compete. So those are the 3 options in terms of how to price your house. None of them is inherently right or wrong. They have relative strengths depending on the market. It also depends on the part of town and the price point you're in. At certain price points, you have more risk pricing it low, and at others you have more risk, pricing it really high. So work with your representative. Call me if you have questions, because pricing it right is still important. And the best strategy, unique to your home, is still the best way to get you the most money. It just takes some understanding how the market works and which of these is going to serve you best. Thanks for taking the time to tune in. I look forward to talking to you again soon.